Welcome to Two Hypnotherapists Talking with me, Denise Billen-Mejia, in Delaware, USA.
And me, Martin Furber, in Preston, UK.
This weekly podcast is for anyone and everyone who'd like to know more about the fascinating subject of hypnosis and the benefits it offers.
I'm a clinical hypnotherapist and psychotherapist.
I'm a retired medical doctor turned consulting hypnotist.
We are Two Hypnotherapists Talking.
So let's get on with the episode. Carrie, it's so nice of you to join us today from Arizona. Thank you.
It's so great to be here with you.
Yeah, greetings from England, Carrie.
Thank you.
So you've been a hypnotherapist for over 20 years.
Yes.
Would you be willing to talk?
24 years.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
would you like to tell us about some differences? There are already some differences because Martin practices in the UK and you're here in America. But
Yes.
But what have you seen over that 20 years?
Well, I just see a lot of, I don't know. I think it's my own growth that I see that's different. You know, there's so many different modalities to use. And, you know, I have used, you know, pretty much the Ericksonian type of thing. That's the old, you know, type of hypnosis. And yet by going and attending conferences and stuff like that, I've learned a lot of new little tricks to use as well. And now I use a lot more NLP than I did at the beginning. You know, it's all good.
What brought you to hypnosis in the first place?
I had for many years, since I was 20 years old, I experienced something called Epstein-Barr virus, chronic fatigue. No one knew what it was at that time. They kept taking these tests. They said nothing, we can't see anything wrong.
No, it really wasn't until the 90s we got
experiencing this. It could be like mono, it could be, you know, all these different things. And so that was a journey. And I did learn that I was very hypoglycemic along the way. So once I stopped eating sugar, that helped tremendously. But in 1990, I finally found a physician that said, I think I know what's going on, and took the blood work, and it came up positive that I had this Epstein-Barr virus.
Okay.
So, and he said, there's really nothing we can do about it. He said, you know, go home, rest, eat well and stuff, you know, it might last 6 weeks, 6 months, 6 years, whatever. Mine was typically a 6 to 8 week stint when I got it. Felt very flu-like and exhausted. So I had a client, I was in a different business, and I had a client at the time that said, you need to read this book my husband's read. It's really been very helpful for him. And that was Louise Hay's book, You Can Heal Your Life. So it was about self-talk and affirmations. And I said, well, this makes sense. And so I started doing it. Felt like a lie at first because I was in what I call a diseased mindset. Every morning I woke up looking for what's wrong today. Am I you know, how much energy do I have? How sore am I? What, you know, that was my mindset. So I began to do this, like I say, this self-talk. And like I said, it felt like a lie, but I thought there's something to it. I just know there's something to it. So I continued to do it over and over and over again. And eventually my focus was on wellness versus the disease. I was focusing on wellness. So there was a shift there.
Yeah.
When that happened, wonderful physicians and practitioners and nutritionists came into my life to help me heal. And they did.
Beautiful.
That's fantastic.
And I would say to myself that I was radiantly healthy in body, mind, and spirit. And I would say it over and over and over and over and over again. I'd meditate, I'd pray, I'd go for walks, and, you know, I just constantly was focused on being radiantly healthy. And when people began to approach me and literally say to me, I don't know what it is, but you're just radiant. Well, I'm thinking, wow, that's interesting. And it wasn't just one or two people, it was a lot of people.
Uh-huh.
Complete strangers. And then people that I've known forever. No one ever told me that in my life. And yet they were using those words. So I knew there was this incredible connection between the mind and the body.
This is
And I studied
something I have realized fairly recently. When people say psychosomatic, they always think of it's a psychosomatic illness. And mind, but mind body is psychosomatic. That's what the word means. It's not,
Yes.
and yet we have this feeling that, oh yeah, it's all in your head.
So you could have
psychosomatic. Let's go for that.
Psychosomatic health, yes.
Yeah, you could have psychosomatic wellness.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I always quote Michael Yapko, Carrie, the expression, anything you concentrate on, you will amplify.
Yeah, you bet.
Yeah.
Exactly. So anyway, that was kind of my story. And studying the mind and the body led me to take some courses in hypnosis. And I'm certified.
Who did you train with?
I trained with Ann Spencer. I don't know if any of you know her. She was the founder of the International Medical and Dental Hypnotherapist.
Oh, okay. Yes, I know the organization. Good.
Yeah, you know the organization. Well, she was the originator and the founder of that organization.
Mm-hmm.
And she owned Infinity Institute. And I trained with her for my clinical work. Mm-hmm. And then I worked with the Clinical Hypnosis Institute for my medical hypnosis.
That's great.
Yeah.
So where did you set up your practice first? Because you weren't in Arizona then.
No,
in Michigan.
I was in Michigan. Yeah, I was in Michigan. And you know how it is when you first start, you just kind of do a little bit at a time, dabble, friends, whatever. Mm-hmm. And so then I just set up a little office in my home at the time and did a little advertising here and there. And people began to come. And I actually started doing hypnobirthing. Mm-hmm. And when I started the Mongan method, yeah. And so when I started doing that, I worked with Botsford Hospital in Farmington, and I had group classes. I worked with an adjunct to Botsford Hospital, actually. Mm-hmm. And so I did groups there, and I worked with the Holistic Nurses Association and the Obstetric Nurses Association. And so that's when I really stepped into doing hypnosis, when I did the hypnobirthing. And it was a major part of my work. Mm-hmm.
That's great. Now, have you seen any changes in people's attitude over that 20 years? Because hypnosis for childbirth, most people have been aware of it for at least 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
It's far more common now, I think. Yeah. And certainly if somebody says, I used hypnosis for my babies, nobody's surprised.
Right.
But does that ebb and flow in the same way that the acceptance of hypnosis tends to?
I think it's just the person that we work with. I mean, some people have I try to, eliminate that fantasy right away when I see my clients, so that they have an idea that, hey, this is just a normal state of being. You're in hypnosis all day long. With the suggestion.
Carrie, you work online, don't you, as well as seeing clients face to face?
I do.
Yeah.
Primarily, I work, locally face to face.
Yeah. No, I just wondered.
And I do work online. I mean, that's just been the way of things. But even during the COVID thing here, we didn't get, I guess, hit as badly with the whole COVID. Yeah. And I would ask people, I offered, I said, I'm happy to work online with you or whatever, or in person. And they all said, I'd rather work in person.
Right.
But online works beautifully. We all know that.
Yeah.
Yeah. we've come to learn that.
Yeah. And you told me, I think, I can't remember if it was before or after we started recording, but you had somebody you'd seen who was visiting your area, and then you were able to continue that relationship
Right.
because of the online.
Right. He was doing some work with a woman here. I don't know if she does coaching type of things or whatever. I'd met her in a networking group and stuff. And she knew he wanted to quit smoking. And so she set it all up for him to see me before they started their little retreat. It was kind of
I
like,
see. Oh, that's good. So you just saw him the once in person, and then you're continuing?
Once in person, and then this week I saw him yesterday. I saw him online. And next week.
Do you have a set program for quitting smoking? Because that tends to be handled differently by different people.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do it in 3 sessions, typically. Now, if someone's like red hot and they're coming in and they go, I know I can do it in 1 session. I've maybe done it before in another session. I'll say, fine, I'll do it in 1 session. I mean, I'm fine with that. And usually if they're that enthusiastic, they're going to be fine with 1 session. They're absolutely going to be fine with that. But I typically do it in 3 sessions. The first session, we focus on solidifying the decision to quit. And the second session is our stop smoking session. And the third session is stress management. I'm big on helping. Teaching people to pay attention to how they feel and to work with those emotions, to guide them. They're guiding them. They're telling them, you don't like this. It doesn't feel good. And this is where we're going to go. This is what we really want. So that's a big thing, focusing on what they want. The big, big thing.
Do you work with local doctors? Have you had the opportunity to work with doctors? Okay, good.
Yes, I have. We have a lot of naturopathic doctors here in this area. And so there's several of those I work with, and chiropractors and, different medical people I work with.
Do you do childbirth stuff still?
I still do it. It's not my focus, not my main focus. It's on my website. So people who are looking for hypnobirthing or whatever.
So you don't do groups for that anymore. You just do one-on-one.
No, I'm not doing the groups anymore. I haven't gone to the hospitals here, so much. We had in Michigan, we actually had one hospital that, had a birthing unit, and it was all natural birth and all midwives and doulas, that kind of thing. They were close enough to the hospitals so they could get there if they needed. I mean, they were like
adjacent
to the hospital, right there. So they would do a lot, and and I would do a lot of CEU or CEUs for the obstetric nurses.
Yeah.
So
for the British people, that's CPD.
CPD, right? Okay.
What did you say?
It's continuing professional development in the UK.
Yeah. Just translating it for our
we try to keep away from the woo-woo, but also the acronyms, because it depends on context so much.
So, Carrie, do you deal a lot with fears and phobias?
Absolutely. I love fears and phobias.
Yeah. Let's talk about some fears and phobias.
Fears and phobias. I always say I'm like 99.9% successful with fears and
so here she is in Arizona with snakes and spiders and scorpions and all sorts of fun stuff.
Things like that. Yes. Yeah.
So I do. What's the strangest phobia you've ever dealt with, without breaching any client confidentiality, of course?
We have a lot of heights because we're in the mountains.
Of course, yeah.
There's heights, I see a lot of that. And
driving in the mountains.
Driving.
It's almost about driving in the over bridges.
There's a lot of people who are fearful of driving. The young kids now, they're not even driving until they're like in their 20s.
Really?
So many young people here are like, they don't drive. Well,
Did they
some
get
some do.
Ubers or you have good buses?
Like they're in Michigan now, my grandchildren, and they don't drive. It's like, we're like,
Yeah, I'm 16. Give
let's
me my
get our
license.
license, let's go freedom,
Yeah,
right?
well, you
No,
need a
let's
car
have
there.
some
It's
freedom
everything's
here.
so vast and spread out, isn't it?
Yeah. So that, driving, of course, is one of them. Failure and
Mhm.
fears in businesses and, that type of thing. And just, you know, I think a lot of people have social anxieties and stuff. So there's a lot of fears around that.
I've seen a lot of particularly older women since the pandemic because because it was so long with all the stops and starts again.
Right.
Socializing, I've seen a lot of people that want to rekindle their confidence in themselves.
Right.
And it's affected by COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I see fears with athletes that are been injured after injury, a lot of that kind of thing. So I don't know. It's interesting.
Do you do much in bereavement? That's another fairly big.
I'm actually working with a woman right now who lost her son.
Oh dear.
When he was like 14, he
Oh.
got cancer and lymphoma. So it was like a 7-year battle. So she was at his bedside for that whole long time. It was very, very, very challenging and difficult for her, and being the mediator between him and the doctors and everything. It was just, really exhausting. And so that, yes, I'm dealing with that right now. Now it's been a long time since he has passed. That being said, it's still, it's a part of them. I have another neighbor who lost their son last Christmas time, 24 years old, Yeah. So I do. You'd think it would maybe be older people that have lost their spouses or whatever, but I'm finding that it's mothers and their children, and it's a tough thing to do. But with this one woman, we're working heavily on that, and she had a lot of abuses growing up as well. So it's been
unravel everything
through. Yeah,
very solution focused, right, Martin?
Yeah, absolutely.
Solution focused person.
How do I want to feel? I usually have them pick out just a few words. I want to feel respected and at ease, or whatever their situation is, whatever the emotion is, telling them, because it's really just telling them they don't like it and what do they like. I said, this is about us creating some new realities here, new neural pathways.
Yeah.
And so if they get their words, and I usually have them pick 3 or 4 words, and I said, that's your mantra. You say that over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. The subconscious mind is going to start leaning into that. And focusing on that. But the beautiful thing is too, and I don't know how much you guys work with that, energetically, it changes things. I work a lot with energy as well. And so I said, now energetically, that's where you are. So you're not only beginning to move yourself in that direction, you're beginning to attract situations to you energetically that will match that as well. So sometimes it's
it's the what you're paying attention to is what's going to
exactly. So that's how I work.
Yeah, I mean, so would it be fair to say you do a lot of, you try and get your client to do a lot of future focusing?
Absolutely. Or even now focusing. I want them to focus now on how they feel. What right now, today, how do you feel? If you feel good, just keep doing it. If you're not, then ask yourself, breathe. What do I want? How do I want to feel? Because the feelings will take them, because the thoughts follow the emotion. We all know that. And so that's the pattern interrupt, instead of allowing those thoughts to attach to the negative emotion, just observing the emotion. I mean, that's, I find that is pretty much standard with almost everything and everybody I work with. I always work on with that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I tend to concentrate a lot on detaching emotion from memories, because as you know, you can have memories of something. Yeah, you can have a memory of something bad that's happened, but you can detach the emotion from it. You can recall the memory without all the emotions anymore.
Right.
Exactly.
I tend to do a lot of work on that kind of thing.
Sure.
And future focused. We use a lot of scaling over here. So we may ask somebody, for example, if you're feeling 5 out of 10 in terms of happiness at the moment, imagine if you woke up tomorrow and you were feeling 6 out of 10. You didn't quite know what happened, but something had happened in your sleep and you were feeling that a little bit better. What would you be doing differently? And we always go on doing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
As in feeling. Yeah.
Different. Exactly. That's perfect. It's along the same line.
Oh yeah.
It all works together. I do some future pacing kinds of things too. But we have so many tools.
So where do you see you've been in business for 23 years?
Yeah.
You presumably are approaching a retirement age. Do you see yourself?
I tried that already a few years ago.
So me too. So where do you see yourself going? This is a comfortable size practice for you? Do you want us to sing out for everybody? Call Carrie and get a session with Carrie online. Are you comfortable with that, or do you see yourself doing anything, adding anything else to the way you practice?
I think like I say, I think it evolves. I think we learn, we evolve, we have our own personal experiences that take us along the way. Do I want to be the rock star of hypnosis? No, not at this point. Yeah, I've got enough to do.
I got other things to do too.
And I enjoy my time. I enjoy my own time. So, in fact, I don't advertise at all. I've got my Google things going, and I've got some for my social media, but I don't really advertise. And I used to advertise a huge amount. So, but I don't.
How long have you been in Prescott now?
I've been in Prescott since 2005.
Oh, so you've had lots of time to establish a base. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you get a lot of
years.
Most of it's word of mouth referral now. Oh, you should see Carrie. I saw her 20
word
years
of mouth referral or Google. Or my, like I say, the physicians that are in the area. I think it's really good to get aligned with, physicians that are see the value of hypnosis. Of course, a lot of physicians see the value of it with smoking.
Yes. Yes.
So, smoking or weight loss or that type of thing. So in those cases, what I do to build that relationship with the physician is I ask for permission to send a letter to them and let them know that I'm working with their, especially if they've recommended, it's not a big deal. So I'll just say, thank you very much for the recommendation. But you just, this is what we're going to do. And so, then they see, oh, wow, this has been helpful. It's been successful. And they then will recommend.
Yeah. Do you do a lot of weight loss?
I used to. I'm not doing so much weight loss anymore. I choose to know why. I mean, I do it. I used to advertise big time for weight loss. And of course that brought a lot of clients in for that and had a lot of success with it. But I just, I don't do it as much. I do it, you know, people call me to do work with weight loss and we do it. That being said, I probably do more smoking than anything. I probably see people for smoking. Vaping is another
Same thing. Yeah.
We have a lot of vaping going on now.
You see many younger people? I mean, like adolescents who are vaping and that kind of.
Yeah, not. No, they haven't. They're still invincible, you know.
Well, of course.
When they're in their teens, it's like, you know, I'm going to conquer the world or whatever.
Yeah.
So I see young people whose parents I've maybe worked with, networking groups with, and they're having problems with socialization or, you know, things like that.
College anxiety.
Yeah,
all
exactly.
Leaving home for the first time.
Right. Those are the kind of things that, you know, I work with young people. And of course, athletes. I do work with athletes. It's kind of
do you work with the aches and pains of it, or do you work with the performance enhancement? That sounds like steroids, but that's not what I meant.
But no, I work mostly with performance enhancement. Now, what sometimes comes with that, if someone has had a severe injury, they, you know, they're playing football and they have a really bad injury, maybe an ankle injury or something, and they have to be in a wheelchair for a couple months, and you know, and now it's a year later, and they, you know, want to play football, but they have a lot of anxiety about going.
Yeah, of course.
So injury types of things, I do that as well. So
it helps that your husband was a coach.
Yeah. Well, that kind of introduced me to that area because, you know, like I say, I created the Masterful Athletes program for his ball players and his teams. And when I came here, a friend of mine's husband was the head wrestling coach, and he was using visualization and different things like that with his wrestlers. And so he approached me. He said, I want to create a program. And so we did that together. So our program was You Zone It and You Own It.
So Carrie, have you ever helped anybody with nerves for things like public speaking, for example?
Sure. Well, again, that's a fear, isn't it? It's fear of getting in front of people, you know, and speaking, and, you know, feeling comfortable about that. And of course, again, we're using a lot of visual things, like you say, seeing themselves, you know, in that situation. You know, the mind loves those pictures and symbols and all kinds of things like that. And so when they repeatedly and repetitively do that and see those pictures, then they're there. You know, they're there. They step onto that field or in an auditorium in front of a podium or whatever it is, and they're on. It's like, you know, their body and their mind and everything responds the way it needs to, because they've seen it. And the subconscious mind is used to that situation.
And their brain assumes it must have happened because it saw it.
Yeah, because it saw it. It believes it.
Yeah,
you know,
as we all know,
people don't always realize that.
No, that's it. They don't realize that the brain can't tell the difference between imagination and reality necessarily.
Yeah.
No,
your intellect can, but your brain itself, no.
That's right.
Yeah.
Do you it's a segue completely not what we're talking about right now. Do you use audios with your clients? Do you do a session and then send them back with it? Okay.
I do. If I move my thing, you can see some of my equipment.
Oh, there. Okay.
I do use audios because the subconscious likes repetition.
Yeah.
So whether we give them something to repeat over and over, or we use an audio, it's the same thing. You know,
Right.
they need to have that repetition
Yeah.
so that begin to change new neural pathways. Some of these habits to emotion and fears or whatever have been there for a very long time.
Mhm.
So we need to introduce new neural pathways and create new pictures. And
Mhm.
I do.
What's
do a lot.
what's your usual interval between sessions?
If I'm doing a program, it's typically, I do it once a week.
Okay.
I see them every week.
Mhm.
Or every other week. I mean, some people are a little bit different.
Mhm.
I'm fine with every 2 weeks, or someone has to go on wants to go on a vacation, or
Yeah.
has
With me, if
something
they're going
that-
on vacation, then I bring it forward. I usually 2 weeks, but then 1 week if they're going to be away, because I don't really want it to go longer than 2 weeks. That's
so.
great. How many clients do you see on average a week, do you think?
I typically will do maybe 3 a day, and I work maybe 3 days a week if I can.
Mhm.
Sometimes I have to work more or spread it out and different things. So
Yeah.
that would be like about maybe 9 clients a week or so
Yeah.
is what I would think.
So that's a nice comfortable.
I give them plenty of time.
You
I
can
like
still
to have
go for a
plenty of time.
lunch. You can still do things.
Right, exactly. I go for lunch. I work with them. Typically, my appointments themselves are an hour and a half.
Mhm.
You know, a lot of times. This one woman, like I told you, that I was working with the grief of her son, those sessions have been going even a little longer. So I give myself time between my sessions.
Yeah,
So that,
I have a big buffer in between.
yeah.
Me too. I cannot believe that time has gone so quickly, Carrie.
No.
We need to thank you for
Time
coming
to
on
gab,
here.
isn't it?
Well, we'll chop it up a little bit, so it's a bit shorter for the podcast.
Yeah. I can't believe where that time's gone, Carrie. Thank you so much for coming on,
Yeah.
all the way from Arizona.
Yes, it was my pleasure. Thank you for the invitation. I'm so glad to be here.
Do you have any parting words for our listeners other than think positive thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. Focus on what you want.
We hope you've enjoyed listening. Please remember, this podcast is designed to give you an insight into therapeutic hypnosis and is for educational purposes only. So remember, consult with your own healthcare professional if you think something you've heard may apply to you or a loved one.
If you found this episode useful, you can apply for free continuing professional development or CME credits using the link provided in the show notes. Feel free to contact either of us through the links in the show notes. Join us again next week.